Hi everyone. Today, we're going to take a look at a retro handheld I just got in the mail today off of AliExpress. It cost a total of $22 after shipping, and I couldn't help but wonder if a device this cheap is actually playable. It claims to be able to play NES, Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and MAME. So is this cheap handheld device worth it? Let's find out. We'll go through an unboxing, some gameplay, and then I'll let you know what I think of this device overall. Let's get started. So first, let's get to the unboxing. There really isn't much of one. Inside the package was the device, just wrapped in bubble tape. It came with an AV out that I'm definitely not going to use, and the world's shortest micro USB cable. The device itself feels pretty cheap, which is pretty much what I'd expect for $20. The buttons are kind of small considering there are 6 of them so close to each other. And man, that analog stick is really terrible. Considering the systems it plays, I wish it just had a D-pad. At first I couldn't believe how disgustingly dirty the screen was, but then later while I was playing, I realized that there was a protective layer on top. Still, the screen is not fantastic. While just playing on my couch, I found the viewing angles pretty bad, but then again, this thing is $20. When I first turned it on, there was no light indicators or anything, so I checked to make sure I hit the switch. I did, it just took a second. My biggest disappointment was that this device didn't have any language selection, at least one I could easily find. It came with a ton of games, as these things usually do, but since they were all in Chinese, I just tried a few random ones and pretty quickly went straight to loading my own games on this thing. To my surprise, transferring games was super easy. Pop out that micro SD card, it showed up on my computer immediately, and all of the games were sorted into a game folder. Adding games is just drag and drop into the correct folders. I renamed my games with a bunch of zeros in the front so they show up at the top. Except I forgot to do this to WarioWare. Okay, let's take a look at some gameplay. First up, NES. I wanted to choose a unique game, and I've been really into Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl. NES plays just fine, but I just couldn't quite get over the analog stick. Since the analog stick kind of spins, it makes the controls a bit hard. If you haven't checked out this game and you're into Jay and Silent Bob, definitely check it out. Okay, over to Game Boy Advance. I wanted to play WarioWare because there is no frame counter and it's a game I played endlessly when I had my Game Boy Advance, so I'll be able to tell the performance just by the feeling of the gameplay. It doesn't play bad, but it definitely doesn't play well. The aspect ratio is all wrong, and you can hear the sound just isn't smooth. The gameplay overall is probably just barely playable for a game like this that depends on reaction time. My guess is something like Pokemon with the sound off plays just fine. And onto the SEGA Genesis. Another game I played a ton of growing up was Aladdin. One strange thing I noticed with the Genesis emulator is that if you pause the game using the home button, and then you try to resume it, it just shows a black screen. this feels like it's pretty much running at full speed. The button layout feels a bit strange and the analog stick is still terrible, but the emulator itself does play fine. Next up, Super Nintendo. Again, choosing games I love to play since I know them best, I chose NBA Jam. The game was simply unplayable, not because of any reason except that it kept thinking my controller was both first and second player. I'm not even going to show you any gameplay of NBA Jam because it just isn't worth it. You can see on this main menu that when I move the analog stick up or down, the first and third player both follow along. At first I thought it might have been the game, but then I chose this random game, Knights of the Round, and it also kept detecting the gamepad as 2 players. You can see here too that even though I chose 1 player, it's still making me select player 1 and player 2, and when I get into the game, I'm controlling both players at the same time. The last thing I'll say about the emulator is that it does feel like it's running at full speed. I just didn't play any more than a few seconds of each game. And lastly, MAME. I thought this meant I could play Simpsons Arcade, but as you see, it just crashes immediately. I'm guessing this is only able to run Neo Geo games. I ended up just trying out this random one, Crosspang, and I just couldn't figure out how to play. However, it did seem to run fine. Granted, it was just a still game with me selecting things and I couldn't really figure anything else out, but I just didn't care enough about this system to try anymore. Alright, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts. How does this $20 handheld fare? Not too great. Games are pretty hit or miss, but NES does run pretty well. If you're looking for a cheap portable NES, you can easily pick up this handheld and load the entire NES game collection on here and have a pretty fun time. But the problem is that Game Boy Advance was barely playable, Genesis was unstable, Super Nintendo was unplayable, although Neo Geo did seem to run fine. Let's also not forget, those buttons are pretty small, and that analog stick, I just can't get over it. I know I've mentioned it like 3 times, but it is just terrible. Overall, I probably wouldn't recommend this device. While $20 is pretty cheap, there are much better ones out there for just a little bit more. If you are interested in this device though, I'll leave a link to the store I bought it from in the description. Well, that wraps it up for now. If you enjoyed this video, do the like and subscribe thing, and keep an eye out for more videos soon.